Welcome to video number 2 of this 3-part video series. I hope you enjoyed video 1 so far. If you haven't watched that yet, go back and check it out. You'll learn more about who this guy is, Benny Fergusson, and also you'll learn practice number 1 that I've found it's a very powerful foundation towards creating new levels of physical freedom in your body. So if you've seen video number 1, then let's get into today's information. We'll be talking all about 2 practices that really are around improving strength and flexibility, 2 very important ingredients in physical freedom. But we're going to be breaking the mold of what you often see traditionally, because I've gone through that journey and I've learned that a lot of what's out there in the mainstream actually doesn't work. So I'd like to show you what has worked for me and what works for my students, so then you can not waste so much time in your journey and you can experience more freedom in that body of yours. So stay tuned and we'll get into practice number 2. And this is part 2 of 4 of the curriculum that I work with people with. And number 2 is all about deepening range of motion. So it goes beyond just flexibility. For some people, flexibility means something very different. Some people it's about bending down, touching your toes. Other people it's about doing the splits. But the meaning can be a bit confusing. So we're just going to have a look at it in terms of improving your range of motion, specifically the range of motion that you can move in. So I'm going to take you through a drill that will help you overcome some common mistakes that a lot of people make when looking at flexibility training. And you'll also learn how to open up probably one of the tightest areas that I notice with people, and that is the hips. Okay, so before we get into talking about improving range of motion of the hips, let's just have a look at a bit of an example about flexibility and one of the most common mistakes as to why it doesn't really work for a lot of people. So we'll take a classic stretch like, let's say the hurdler's stretch, where someone has the intent to stretch the hamstring. We might sit down in this position and we might bend forward and then hold and breathe into this. And while this can be great to relax and we can pull into it and breathe, all it is doing is improving the area's ability to relax. But when we think about when we need to move, we don't actually need to just relax. We need to learn how to balance contraction and relaxation. So say we started to apply some resistance to that stretch. Maybe we were up in a position like this and we hadn't built the strength in this area. Well, then you would find that the body starts to just give you a bit of warning signs because it doesn't feel safe in that range. So when we're looking to improve flexibility that you can use to improve your range of motion for movement, what we need to do is balance the demands of strength and flexibility so then your body feels safe in those ranges. There's another thing that we'll consider as well is if we just build our flexibility in straight lines, like the hurdler's stretch that I did before, well then we'll have flexibility here maybe if we practice long enough over time with the right methods. But then what happens if we move outside of here or outside of here? Each of them have different lines of tissue. So what we find is we end up building a robotic type structure. In essence, to develop more range of motion in the body, it needs to feel safe in that range. And if you haven't got strength in that range or an ability to feel all of the tissue, then what happens is it builds up tension and it won't allow you any further. So what I want to look to teach you to do is how do you connect the body while you're improving your flexibility and strength at the same time. So let's take a look at that with the hips. So what we're going to do is integrate all of those principles that we've just gone through. So we'll start off in a position called the horse stance. You might be familiar, it's present in a lot of different martial arts. The intent first is just to relax. We don't want to start from a place of tension. We just want to relax down into the position, particularly so the femur, the bones here that go up into the hip, they're not jammed up in there. So if we try to force ourselves down in there, we might be starting with tension. So just breathe, relax, and sit down and feel the femurs move out. Relax the muscles and start to feel the tissue beneath it. Feel the springiness that starts to develop. This is not about just fully being floppy, because then you put pressure on the joints and all that sort of thing. It's It's about developing control in that new range, getting used to where is the fringe, dancing with it, exploring it, making it dynamic. So it's just not just this is my range, you can move all around the joint. There's a really good saying that my teacher once taught me, and that is to find the steel beneath the cotton wool. And basically, beyond the philosophical terms, find the steel, which is the fascia beneath, and that's a structure that binds your whole body and is responsible to help you move as one unified structure. We want to keep the muscles relatively relaxed. If we tense up, then it's going to really limit our range. So just relax. The most important thing is just listen to your body. Don't just mimic what I'm doing, listen to your body. That's the biggest tip so far. So there's a couple of variables. You might go a bit narrower. You might turn your feet out a little bit because your ankles might not be flexible enough yet, or your knees might not be strong enough yet, or there's a whole bunch of different variables. And we just want to first explore up and down. Just explore the ranges and find the fringe of where your flexibility and strength is. Then we'll start to explore rotation around that. So we're just really exploring all these little detailed areas of the hip and just opening it up, because you use this in many, many movements in life, like walking, jumping, squatting down, moving around, martial arts. It doesn't matter what you're doing. The hips are very dynamic, and a lot of people are inflexible in that area because they don't move them dynamically. So we're going to just start off just rotating. You can really place your hands anywhere. I'm not going to give you too many strict rules. This is about exploration of your range of movement. Feel the whole body developing connections and not just trying to stretch one individual area. And this can deepen over time. Maybe you're just up here at the start, and that's completely fine. That's where I started. And next we just start to sit down, gradually deeper, and then just sit into it and feel all of the connections all the way down through your legs, through your hips, into your feet. You can place your hands on the ground if you need. Just use as little support as what you need, and feel the femur move in the hip. And just explore. If you need to rest, just come rest, walk around, and then come back to it. So to recap, working through up and down, side to side, or rotation, and side to side. And these have a range of different applications as you develop the strength and flexibility that you need. So these are just some examples, and notice the quality. What we're looking to do is feel the whole body connected, so then it can all move as one. So there's no one vulnerable part where all of your weight goes on. It's looking at the body as a whole system. So there's some little points to consider for you to start to improve the range of motion of your hips. They're just the basics. Explore it and gradually improve. And what you'll notice is as you get to learn and feel what's going on deep within your hips, then flexibility and range of motion will naturally improve. I hope you're enjoying the journey so far. So far we've covered the first principle, which is releasing tension from your body. And then we covered the next principle in a physical freedom practice, which is deepening range of motion. So next we're going to go through practice number 3. You've arrived to practice number 3 to develop more physical freedom in your body. And this practice we're talking all about building adaptive strength. Building adaptive strength. And why I say adaptive is it's a quality of strength that adapts and is applicable to many, many movements beyond what you're specifically doing. So I'll give you an example of a common approach to strength training and why I found it actually doesn't work the way it promises. So we have a look at a movement like the push-up. So this movement promises to strengthen the chest, the arms, the triceps, the shoulders, the abs, and maybe the legs to a degree. And it can be a pretty good movement, but what it's really doing is it's teaching you to strengthen a pattern in isolation. And if we continue to train it that way, well then we get very good at that, but then what happens just outside of here? What happens if you're crawling around on the ground or going for a climb and you need that strength outside of what you've practiced? And you don't have an ability to connect the rest of the body to move. What happens if you need the arms and the legs to work together and you've just trained your arms and legs in separation? Well, then straight away you'll notice there's a big gap in your practice. So let's take a look at that push-up. So from here I'm taught to brace my abs and keep my butt tight and everything tight and not move any other areas of my body, and then push up. Just use that area of the body. But what I'm teaching myself to do is keep this part of my body rigid, the spine, which is one of the areas that you want to be able to move the most. So let's have a look at how we can make things a bit more adaptive. So the place I like to start is looking at the spine. It's the thing that connects your whole body. All of the nerves run up and down. It's like a big communication network. And if there's any blockages in the way your spine moves, and trust me, I know all about that having gone through my spinal injury, then it affects the performance of your whole body. So the way I see strength is we want to develop whole body strength. So then your whole body can move as a unified structure, not just be strong with one arm or the bicep, be strong in a push-up or a pull-up. We want to be strong for the things that are actually enjoyable to use in life. Strong to climb up an object, strong to crawl under an object, strong to roll around on the ground or wrestle or perform martial arts or yoga or all of those things that really enrich you. Not just be strong for a push-up, just to look good on the outside. This is just as much about the inside as it is on the outside. So when we're looking to embrace that quality, let's take a look at the spine. The more we can move that, then the more we can connect the upper and lower body to move as one. So we'll look at a practice called spinal waves. This is just an introductory practice, and you can practice along with me if you like. And what we're just looking to do is explore the way the spine moves. So we'll start off on hands and feet. And notice I've got my toes here, so I can use my toes to start to propel and move the body. And what we want to do first is just feel how the breath can affect the spine. Your torso fills with air every time you breathe, or at least there's an opportunity to. So what we're going to have a look at doing is just, as you inhale and exhale, just feel how your body expands and releases. Feel where the breath can go and feel where it's having trouble to go. And just explore the fringe of that. Then from there, just start to relax your spine as best as you can. Just feel each of the vertebrae sink down towards the ground. You can sink down in your shoulders. Once again, I'm not going to give you strict guidelines or rules. I'm just going to give you an opportunity to explore. And then from here, we're just going to sit back and notice how the pelvis rocks back, and just inhale and feel the spine connect. And then exhale. So we're rounding and waving upwards and releasing and arching downwards. Now this has a range of different applications. If we just apply that pattern to, say, a crawling pattern, where before we were going this rigid crawling pattern, let's just have a look at the applications of that you would build in time. So relax, and this is maybe how like a tiger would walk. And then inhale. See how the upper body and the lower body are working together. I'm not just thinking about my arms. I'm not just thinking about my core and my abs. I'm not just thinking about my legs. I'm feeling my whole body and following the breath and feeling how it can all work and connect together. Well done, you've made it to the end of video number 2. So far in this video we covered really some practices around improving range of motion of your hips in a way that applies to the way moving dynamically in life, not just being good in just one static position and that's it, and having 1,000 different stretches to improve your flexibility. we're looking at the idea of exploring range of motion around the hips and using a couple of positions in order to do that. And there's lots of different ways that we can explore that, and I teach it in more detail if you'd like to learn more, in a program called Embodied Flexibility. The next practice number 3 that we went through, we were looking at improving and building adaptive strength. So strength that connects your whole body so then you can adapt to a range of different situations that aren't just about push-ups and pull-ups and those movements that just build strength for those movements. We're looking at connecting the whole body so then it's strong for a range of different situations that you may not have planned for. So you can start to explore your body in more nature-based environments, in random situations, and then when you get out of your comfort zone, you don't get hurt. So I hope you've been enjoying what I've been sharing with you so far, and like I was saying before, so important, just put the information into practice, explore it, just don't take the information into your head and go, oh, there's some great concepts there. It's only of use to you if you put it into practice and bring it into your body. If you're enjoying so far and you'd like to learn more, stay tuned for video number 3, where I'm going to take you through the 4th practice that I found very powerful to improve levels of physical freedom. And if you're looking to develop more fun in the way you move your body, then you're really going to love this last video.